And welcome to today's live chat. It's coming to you from London, and today I've actually changed the title of the live just before I went up, because this is something I've been thinking about. Indeed, I wanted to talk about the first victim, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the prelude and why. Whereas, oh, sorry, the noise has come on my computer. It's an advertisement. There we go. Turn that off, because I've got the text on my computer in front of me, so I can see what's what people are asking. So what I'm going to try and do today is to explain what as the phenomenon of Jack the Ripper, why it came about and what it is. And whereas I cannot answer the question who done it, which is the question everybody wants to know, but what I think I can answer is the question who done it, as far as the whole idea of Jack the Ripper actually is. Now, today I went down to the location of the first murder. I got on the very first train to Whitechapel, and it was still dark when I got there, and I hadn't been there since the major works which had taken place there. Now, there's a system for getting across London called Crossrail, which was being built for around 20 years. And part of this Crossrail project, which is quite incredible from an engineering point of view, I must say, is the construction of a railway station for the Underground and for the Elizabeth line, which is the Crossrail project at Whitechapel. And this station itself really is quite magnificent. Now, from the platform of the District line, that is the line that existed, the Whitechapel station was built, if memory serves me correct, in 1876. And next to the place where the first victim was killed, Polly Nichols, there was a school building. And that school building still stands, and you can see it from the platform of the station. Now, when the new station was built, they initially made a temporary exit, and now it's a permanent exit, which leads onto Bucks Row, which is the place where the first killing happened. Not only it's not called Bucks Row anymore, because it got so much publicity after the murder on the 31st of August 1888 that within that very year the inhabitants petitioned for a change of name, so it became Durwood Street. But anyway, to actually be there, and then be there this morning, it was raining. It was or drizzling more than raining, but the ground was wet, and then we had it was all dark, obviously, and there was no one around, and that really made it very atmospheric, I thought, to do for video. So I've got this B-roll of me in this location. Now, if you look up some on the internet, you can find photographs of the location where the murder actually took place. So you've got this building, which was the school building, and next to that there was a wall. And that wall was still standing until they decided to build this station. And so that wall was still there last time I was there. And beyond that, when it was still Bucks Row, there was like a stable, and it was the body of this victim was actually found in the stable. Now, the stable was, it probably went at the beginning of the 20th century, never made it to being a garage, as did the housing around it. But the street itself retains lots of features, period features. It's like cobblestones, not cobblestones, but sort of stones. Cobblestones are really difficult to drive on, and cycling is just about impossible. I think a fantastic job has been made of the redevelopment in that area, and whole Spitalfields in general, Whitechapel in general. I think it's great. Anyway, but the question I want to answer was this, and this was just something that struck me when I was on the train this morning. It's, why did this all happen? Now, I can't answer the question, why should this character want to kill women? I don't know the answer to that one. But what I can answer, I think, or at least I've got a theory, is that why did this whole cult start up in the first place? Now, for me as a historian, my normal interest is in things related to documents, to military stuff, to specialties, Holocaust. But this is something else. This is social history, and it's the conditions which I discussed a couple of nights ago that existed there at the time, which make it really curious. And it's the seeing how these characters, whom I'm suggesting were seen as being almost animal-like by other parts of the population. Now, at the end of some 40 years ago, the British Museum put a poverty map of London, which I found so fascinating that I went back to see it 2 or 3 times. And now these poverty maps, which start, I think, was 1888, was the first one, but the most famous one's from 1907. It shows 7 classes of people in London, from being people who are comfortably off to 4 classes of poverty. And it says that in the lowest ones are poor, so that's people who are earning between 18 shillings and 21 shillings a household income, I don't know, families. Of course, probably only the man was working anyway, because of the number of kids per week. So that's between 90 pence and £1.05 in today's money. That's poor. But you've got destitute, and then you've got the class. It's said, I've forgotten the words. Semi-criminal, something like that. And these places are painted in black and you can see several of these locations in black on the maps around where these murders took place. However, on the main roads around it, there are people which are coloured in red, which was reasonably well off. So they could manage, comfortable. And so it's the back streets where this poverty actually occurred, and it's bringing the knowledge that these back streets actually existed, which is one of the social things which happened as a result of these killings. Now, having said that, but why did it come to public attention? It was only this morning it hit me that, and what hit me was that in 1870, and Gladstone's first period as being Prime Minister, the Education Act was enacted, which made attendance at school compulsory for between 5 and 13. So that means to say that it had actually been compulsory in Scotland since the 17th century, but that apart, for the rest of the country, that means to say that anybody born after 1865 would be able to read. And this is really important to understand then the growth of the newspapers. And above all, there's one newspaper which is called The Star. It's not the same Star that's out, which sort of started again in 1978, I think it was. But this Star came to an end of its life in 1960, I think it was. It was absorbed by the Evening News, which is the one they've got free in London today. This paper started in January of 1888. It cost a halfpenny, which is, today the money doesn't change. 2.4 old pennies is 1 new penny, so it's a fraction of a penny in today's money. But it had a circulation, a print run, I should say, of 125,000 copies by February of 1888. So within a few weeks of coming out 6 times a week, and it was a broadsheet with 4 pages on it. And now, before you do any calculations about how much money it was bringing in, it needs to be pointed out, and I owned a business publication, that the money from sales does not cover the turnover. All magazines are based on advertising revenue. It's the advertising which pays for it. So this became something really important. It's the circulation wars. Now, what the Star was offering also was a editorial profile that no other paper was offering at the time, or mass publication, and that was its politics, which was, it said at the beginning, it was going to represent the common man, the worker. So it represented the worker in disputes with the labor disputes, for example. And being with that in mind, it's therefore going to attract more people who were poor rather than the competition. So, for example, the Pall Mall Gazette, which largely represented the bosses. Pall Mall Gazette wasn't the only paper. That was also absorbed by the Evening News as well, Evening Chronicle. It's this which is really important to understand. It's a circulation wars. That is why Jack the Ripper, the Whitechapel murderer, he gave the name Ripper to these other killings. Now, when I was still at school, there was somebody, it was a Yorkshire Ripper, who I believe killed Peter Sutcliffe. I believe he killed 15 women in the Yorkshire area, and about 6 women were attacked but survived. I think I can't remember. He was captured in 1981, and I think everybody my age will remember that actually happening. You've got things like the Rostov Ripper. I was in Russia when he was on trial in the 90s. He was executed in 1994. He killed a horrendous amount of people. I think about 50 people were murdered by him. But this word Ripper is used constantly, and it comes from this one here, the Whitechapel murderer. But where does the Whitechapel murderer get his name from? Well, there's a letter that was sent to the Central News Agency on the 27th of September 1888. The date's really important because there was the third murder, believed so at the time, so on the 31st of August. The fourth murder, believed so at the time, now it's different, it's first and second, on the 8th of September. So, and you've got 3 weeks later nearly, nothing's happened, so they sent a letter. They sent a letter to themselves, if you like. The Jack the Ripper was probably coined by a journalist who sent it to the Central News Agency, so that would give more publicity in order to generate sales of the newspaper. And of course, I can't prove that, but that's what I actually believe. So I don't think that's a hoax in the way that I've referred to the DNA on the shawl as a hoax. I think there's good evidence to actually back that one up. But it was either written by a nut or it was written by reasons of giving extra publicity to the case. And now, with the information that this paper, The Star, started up in 1888, it's representing the common man. It's representing the common man against the police. And whereas I think the 1988 production of Jack the Ripper with Michael Caine and Lewis Collins is historically a load of nonsense, there's one thing, except for the music's fantastic, there's one bit in it which is true, and that was that the press was trying to whip up people to be against the police. And I think that I actually, to my opinion, or elements of the press were trying to do, and I think the Star, to a certain extent, was like that. And mind you, there's lots of other papers as well. There was the Illustrated Police Gazette, which put Polly Nichols on the front cover. Now, going back in time, am I in the UK? Yes, I'm in the UK. That's how I managed to go to Whitechapel this morning. And hello, Colin. So the going back now in time, on Monday, the 2nd of April, 1888 was Easter Monday. So it was the day off. And on Tuesday, the 3rd of April, am I in a hotel? No, this is, I'm in my flat. So Tuesday, the 3rd of April, was a normal day of work, and on that day, a 45-year-old woman, prostitute, Emma Elizabeth Smith, she was attacked and assaulted by what she called a gang on her near to where she lived, and as a result of this, she died. She died the next day. She was taken to the London hospital by she was living in one common lodging house. The deputy lodging house person took her to the hospital, and she died of something called peritonitis. It's not that unusual. Houdini died of it. Pope John the 23rd died of it. Dutch Schultz, the gangster, he died of it. And it seems to me that she died quite quickly of it. When she was attacked, her peritoneum was punctured, and she probably didn't realize that immediately. And that was later portrayed as being a Jack the Ripper killing. However, it bears, I don't know why, because it's not like it at all. Probably happened was the following. Emma was possibly a person who had fallen, if I can say that word like that. She had a son and a daughter living in Finsbury Park, and she was probably somebody known better times. And having said that, for whatever reason, she might have fallen into drink or whatever, but she found herself living in these common lodging houses, and she'd been there for some time. And what I suspect, not me, I mean, it seems pretty logical actually, the prostitutes were largely controlled by gangs, or the gangs actually blackmailed the women, or whatever it was. She either wasn't a member of the gang, she'd gone onto someone else's turf, and as a result, she was attacked, and eventually, so she was murdered. Now, the culprits were never caught. Now, there was a Walter Dew, DEW, constable, and he wrote later that he believed that this was the same as the Jack the Ripper killing. But the thing was this, I mean, there's absolutely nothing. The police did make an effort to try and find, but they had no description, they had no idea. But this attack happened in broad daylight as well, between Osborne Street and Brick Lane. So it was, but it probably been plenty of people around, but okay, in this environment, it was unlikely anybody would come to assistance. Anyway, so that was the very first killing. Now, the next one, it's worthy of mention, and in this case, the location was still in quite good condition last time I was there, which was now about 18 years ago. But on the Monday, the 6th of August was a bank holiday. Used to be the beginning of August, now it's at the end. And the following day, Martha Tabram, 39 years old, she was murdered at 2:30 in the morning. George Yard buildings, which were still standing then. I don't know, but they built an office block on top of it now. But now the thing which comes to Martha's death was this, that she was stabbed 39 times. Now that is, and it was very close, really, to its 300 meters. So all three, the next one, Polly Nichols, all within 300, in fact, just about all of them within this area, 39 times. Now that was unusual for a stabbing death. That wasn't unusual, but for somebody that many times, and just try it yourself. I can't demonstrate it. Get one of these, get a cushion or pillow or something, and try hitting it 39 times. Now, and then, but imagine you've got, so it's a knife doing it, and you're holding it, and the force, the amount, it's needed is really quite a lot. So this, for the killer, must have been quite a frenzy to actually do something like that. Now, she was stabbed in her neck, a torso, her genitals were also stabbed, and they were able to work out that it was a right-handed person. But in most cases, this has been accepted today that this was not the same killer. But the press got onto it. And so by the time it came to the third killing, which is probably the first one that the person we know as Jack the Ripper actually did, then in that case, the press were really on top of it. And so it's the reason why it got this international fame. And that's why, um, in my opinion, that all this cult has come about ever since. And one you can find drawings of these killings in press, for example, in Le Petit Parisien, something I've used for I've done videos from the First World War, things like the Second World War, anything about France. I used the Petit Parisien because they've got such good drawings on them. But they had it on the front cover of their publication. So it's this cult which is really strong. Okay, right. So I think I'll leave it at there. I'll try and answer any questions I've got. And so only ones, do you live in London? Well, I don't normally live in London. I normally live in Germany and Poland. And Gary says, every London crook ends up running to Essex in the end. Yeah, there's this standing joke about this. It's also going to Essex. Yes, and the strange thing actually with the first kill, the Jack the Ripper killing, the one in Bucks Road, Durwood Street. If you go at the end of that street, Durwood Street, you've got Valence Street, of the Valence Road. If we want, go on. Anyway, whatever. That's where the Craze used to live until 1967, where in fact, the Craze mother, the gangsters that sort of terrorized that area of London in the 60s. And so it's quite ironic, really, really close by. I think it was, to me, I thought, today, I thought it was really great walking around. Don't like running around in the rain, but I thought that was really interesting. West Ham was an Essex start of the century. Yes, well, the boundaries were certainly different then. And indeed, West Ham, I mean, you still got a fair way to go to get into sort of Whitechapel. Things like this, though, Whitechapel is really right. It's really in the centre. I mean, one thing I did this morning was, once I've been wandering around, and I got on the bus, and because you've got the big buildings of the financial centre of the city, and so I filmed that as I was coming in. I thought I might be able to use that sometime. It'd be interesting to see what the skylight was like in 2025. Hello, Marco. So good. Okay, right. Well, I think that's just about it, unless there's any more questions. Look, tomorrow, or maybe some other, depending how I feel. I got up today at 2:00. I didn't have to get up that early for this. I mean, the first train was at 5. But so I'm in the east. But I'm going to go out tomorrow again. Hopefully it'll be I think Sunday. The trains start later, but hopefully I'm going to do some more to add to it. I will do a video on the first victim, though, because just I mean, they've all got really sad stories, and in my opinion, the focus has always been on the who was Jack the Ripper, and I think that's wrong. I think the focus should be on the victims and the reason why they were in the state that they are, and the reason why this cult of Jack the Ripper started. Well, I've given you answers to those questions, well, the first one, the third one anyway. I haven't talked about the victims much yet. Okay, so Gary, Southend, massive, sorry. So Southend, Gary, so Essex was a very rural county in the 1800s with lots of places to hide. Yeah. Colin asks, has any of the descendants of the victims ever come forward? Yes, they have. I mean, with this shawl nonsense, they found all of the victims had children except for the last one. As far as we know, was the last one, because she's very little's known about her, but she probably didn't have any children. So the other 4 had children. And even this Emma, who was mentioned here, so I mentioned 2 of the children that were discovered. Marta Tabram, I can't remember if she had children, and she didn't. So as far as Catherine Eddowes, the 4th victim, the one who was murdered in Mitre Square. So this character, Russell Edwards, who started this hoax up about the DNA, he sorry, I believe it's a hoax anyway. I don't know. He found the victims, and he got their DNA off them, but it seems to me as though the shawl got their DNA on it, got Catherine Eller's DNA on it via her great grandchildren or whatever they actually are. So, but there'll be plenty of other people as well who are things. Some of them probably don't even know that they're descended from these people. The names, of course, names, surnames changed as well, and so anyway. Good. Gary says, come to Southend where the Dunkirk evacuation started. Yeah, I was in Southend. No, last time I was in Southend was in 2011. I was in my, and yeah, I mean, it's easy enough to get to Southend. It's on the C2C, which is the local train service. Not even local. It's sort of medium distance train service. Okay, so thanks very much for listening. I'll do another one like this. I'll start off doing the victims if there's interest in it, and if there isn't, then I won't. I'll go back to doing stuff on the Second World War. And anyway, but for the moment, thanks anyway, and bye for now. Thank you. Oh no, I've got a problem. I don't even know how to turn it off. They've changed. Oh no, there it is. All the best. See you, Colin. Bye, Craig. Okay.